Hey everyone, it's Kino here. In this class, we're going to go over the closing poses. The closing poses are an important bookend that really completes every practice. While it might be tempting to sort of speed through and forget these poses, without that, you'll find that the transition out of your yoga practice into your normal life gets a little fuzzy. It's really important every day to let the deep work of the spiritual practice take root inside of your heart. Taking the time to move through the closing poses is far more than just a cool down where your body gets the chance to re-equalize. It's a chance for your mind to integrate with your soul and allow your spirit to shine through. The most important element of your yoga practice is to carry the seed of peace out into your life. Taking the time to roll through the closing poses is an important step along that journey. We'll begin with the shoulder stand. Now, when we move into any inversions, we have both shoulder stand and headstand that we'll be doing, starting off with Sarvangasana and Shirshasana. There are a couple of contraindications that you want to think about. First of all, if you're a woman and you happen to be on your cycle, you want to sit the inversions out, going through some easy modifications or just focusing on general relaxation. It's always fine to do the last three poses, but if you're on your cycle, Guruji always recommended that women sit these out, taking what's called ladies' holiday. A really important reason to go through that is that, if you think about what's happening during your cycle, the circulation is going in the opposite direction of the inversions. You don't want to disturb the natural cycle of life. Second thing to think about is if you have any cervical spine injuries, if you have any issues in your neck or any issues in your head or anything in the sort of neck and shoulders area, you want to maybe avoid shoulder stand and headstand for now until you can feel a little bit more confident in it. The next thing to think about is that if you have glaucoma or if you're suffering from glaucoma, inverting yourself in headstand for long periods of time may increase the pressure that's on your eyes, so it might not be so good for you. But if you're a healthy person and you're just a little afraid of going upside down, you got to try, and you got to try as often as possible. Okay, let's take a look, starting off with shoulder stand. Come on to lying down. Gently roll back, rolling through the spine, and come on all the way down. Okay, so let's talk about some easy modifications for shoulder stand. When you feel like you still want to invert slightly and take the legs up, you can move into what's called Viparita Karani, simply bringing the legs up, and sometimes you'll see this with your feet flexed or your toes pointed. I personally prefer to point the feet, but as you like. Then think about the heads of the femurs dropping down into their sockets and staying hanging out here. So this is the first modification really that we're going over for shoulder stand, Sarvangasana. Now let's talk about the easiest way to get into Sarvangasana. Easiest way to get into shoulder stand is from Viparita Karani, this pose we're in right now. Inhale, take the legs close to your thighs and then use your hands to pick up your hips and just roll back. Then roll onto your shoulders so that you can really get close together. Interlock your fingers and just roll your shoulders close together. Then from here, take your hands to your lower back. Slowly and calmly, inhale, lift one leg up, lift the other leg right up, and find your way up into your shoulder stand. If you're feeling pretty comfortable here, then you may be able to try to go right up into shoulder stand. Remember, you're going to try to come all the way up, making sure that it is a true shoulder stand so your shoulders are pressing down, back of the neck is free. The traditional way to enter shoulder stand Sarvangasana is just inhale, right up. Use your core, use a thrust up, and inhale, right up. Here we go. Exhale, find the pelvic floor, and inhale, send the hips forward and up. Come on up. Wiggle on the shoulders once you're up. Get the hands, let the hands rest in the small of the back, and find the center line. Tuck the tailbone, soften the glutes. We'll stay here for 10 breaths. 1, 2, use your legs, gaze at the toes. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And slowly and calmly sink the hips back, change your hand grip so that you can hold on to the hips, pivoting into your hip joints. Reach your feet down for Halasana. If your feet don't touch the ground, keep hold of the hips so that you can pivot a little bit back and support the spine. Point the toes as you reach them down, and if your toes reach down, walk them a little back. Think up with your hips as you interlock your fingers and roll your shoulders towards each other. Open the palms for greater support. Close the palms if you're flexible enough. Pause here for a few breaths as you pivot through the hips. Then, after
Between 5 and 8 breaths in Halasana, bend your knees, open the knees, round your back, and think about rounding, squeezing your ears with your knees. Now, your knees might not touch the ground. If they don't, grab hold of your hips and just guide them around. See if you can really squeeze, and then return your hands, holding here. And you could even think about pivoting from side to side, and to really get your knees towards the ground. And if after you work for a moment they don't go down, don't force the body. Hands to the lower back, inhale, pivot through the hips, come on back up. Now the next one is a lotus position. If you don't have the lotus position, simply cross your shin bones, taking the hands right up to the knees and reaching it up. Sending the hips back, hands up to the knees, hold it here for a moment. And then Pindasana, reaching all the way in, holding around. What can often happen is that you feel like you're about to roll back. If you feel like you roll back, no problem. You can always just pick it right back up. Check yourself and make sure that the lotus position feels good. We're going to move on to what's called Urdhva Padmasana, the lifted Padmasana position. So this you would enter right back from Karna Pidasana, where the knees are squeezing the ears. Now, this is the same pose we did before, except now you'll be doing the lotus position. So you get into lotus upside down by closing the right knee joint, opening the left hip. Angle your foot onto the inner thigh of the left leg as you spiral around. Then you could touch your toe towards the knee and wiggle, 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 all the way around. If your hips are relatively open, you may be able to go down nice and easy. Then lean forward, making sure that your neck is supported and hands under the knees. Take it up. Find your balance by resting through the shoulders. Hold it there for a moment. Release the hands and thighs into the body. Reach your arms around. Remember, if you can't do this one, you need to modify. It's all right. Release the hands, slide yourself all the way down. Shoulder stand is probably one of the most uncomfortable poses to talk in, but it feels so good through the inner body. Now we have 2 more poses in the shoulder stand sequence, so reach your thighs down, and then you could take a moment and just glide back so you feel comfortable on your mat in your position. Keep your lotus if you have your lotus, and then bend backwards, aiming the top of the head towards the ground. Take your hands, hold onto your lotus feet, and point the knees down towards the ground. Hold it there for a couple breaths. If you have the no lotus position, you're going to simply cross your feet and place your hands right on the thighs. Then, after moving from Matsyasana, the fish pose, bend your knees, straighten the legs, release your lotus, palms press into each other. And this is held normally for between 5 and 8 breaths. Think about pivoting from the hips, lifting up from your back, and chest rises up and forward. So you're actually taking weight off of your neck, through your back bend, as you really sink the hips down into the ground. Your arms are forward. When it's time to leave the pose, hold the hips, plant the spine on the ground, hands reach under your shoulders, Chakrasana. Inhale, come on all the way over, moving the hips all the way over. Then walk it forward, inhale and exhale down, Chaturanga. Inhale, come forward, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Then come on to your knees, cross your feet, come to seated. And we'll begin the journey of headstand, Shirshasana position. As you move into headstand, think about aligning yourself towards the center line. Take your right hand and place your hand on the top of your head and just feel the center line for a moment. So feel everything aligned towards the central axis of the body. Your neck should be free. If you're too far forward, your neck will tense up. If you're too far back, your neck will tense up. Find the center line. One of the deepest lessons of headstand is the cultivation of a meditative and equanimous mind. It took me nearly a year of consistent practice before I was able to balance in headstand, but I hope the tools that I share with you today will get you there much faster. Here we go. Come onto your hands and knees. Then place your elbows down and wrap your fingers around your elbows. So this is going to feel like you're checking your distance. Elbows should be shoulder width apart. Headstand is formed in a tripod position, an equilateral triangle that's formed from the bases of your elbows and the top of your head. Next, interlock your fingers and cup your hands. You want to feel like you're able to clasp firmly the back of your head. Avoid
pinching your hands together or keeping your palms totally closed,
because then you have no space for the back of your head. You need to be able to hold on to the back of your head.
Then cup the fingers so there's a round space. Again, don't flatten them, but cup them in, and don't stiffen them either, but again, just create like a nice cup. Thrust through the shoulders so the deltoids are firm, the belly is in. Then tuck the head under, top of the head on the ground. Then curl the toes under. Inhale, step the hips up, walk, walk, walk. Okay, this is the headstand prepare. This is the best place for you to learn your headstand. So you think about the action of moving into headstand is stable foundation through the arms and hips move forward. We'll stay here for a couple breaths. Just think about sucking the belly in and stabilizing your foundation. Then see if it's possible to pivot forward so you come up onto your toes. Then let's pull the right knee into the chest and hold that for a couple breaths. Avoid kicking your leg up and instead knee into the chest. You want to do this with control and let every movement really be solid and stable. Then bend your left knee and inhale, jump both knees into the chest. This is the first headstand that's really easy to balance in. As long as the knees stay bent and tucked into the chest, there's really no risk of toppling over. Then, slowly and calmly, straighten the legs as you find the vertical line. Finding the vertical line means aligning yourself along the center. Thighs are firm, tailbone tucked under, ribs pulled in. Hold it here for just a moment and then pull the knees into your chest and let's come on back down. And let's go all the way back to child's pose. That was our first headstand for today. So that's the easiest entry into headstand. Pause, ask yourself, was that all right? If that wasn't good, I want you to stop and try it again, or maybe even just stay in child's pose. But if you're ready to move on, if you have a good forward bend, hold on to your elbows, interlock your fingers, stand your legs up, and inhale. Walk, walk, walk in. Thrust into the elbows, thrust into your shoulders, and then easy pivot your hips, both legs come up. Now, what's the interesting thing is if you try to do legs up, they feel like this. But if you think, hips move forward. So right there, the movement is press into the shoulders and hips move forward. So you feel that the hips are moving forward. The hips are moving forward, forward, forward. And then they reach the moment when you're maximum forward, far past the vertical line. To reach your full headstand, you got to tuck your tailbone and reach the vertical line. And that's the first way that you can enter with straight legs. Straight legs entry is the most traditional way to enter into your headstand. It also prepares you well for your half headstand. Then, slowly and calmly, suck the belly in, moving halfway down, and find yourself in this half headstand position. Half headstand is a really important step in your Ashtanga Yoga journey. As you send the hips back and suck the belly in, this prepares you for balance. It prepares you to deepen your inversions and to build strength. If you have tighter hamstrings, you're going to have to work harder in the primary series to really get this established. Then inhale, come on back up. So now you have your vertical line. So now, for those of you who are real strong, let's try Urdhva Shirsasana, or the lifted headstand. If you have a really good balance in headstand, then start to thrust into your shoulders until your head starts to come off the ground. Now don't be too precocious with changing your gaze. Wait for your arms to feel like they have a sense of balance, right? Balance. If you almost fall, no problem. You can always put your head right back down. Tuck the tailbone a little bit and gently look up. Then put your head back down. Make sure the head makes it back down. And then pivot through the hips slowly. Slowly, slowly, come on back down. Okay, let's place the knees down and come on to child's pose. Nice breath in, nice breath out. One more time, big breath in and big breath out. Look forward, come on forward, and let's step it back to the plank pose, plank down, chaturanga. Inhale, come forward, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Let's look forward and step forward, settling the hips all the way down. So you might be thinking, headstand sounds pretty cool, but I'm really afraid of falling. So how do you fall out of headstand? There are two ways to fall out of headstand. You can either jump and land in a back bend, or you can tuck your head under and roll out of it. If you want to look at those two exits of how to safely fall out of headstand, check out the Encyclopedia of Yoga series, where I review all of those exits safely from headstand. If you're thinking about integrating headstand into your Ashtanga Yoga practice, remember, if you're afraid of falling, you don't even need to try to do the headstand. Just stay in the prepare for the whole time and all is good. Focus on consistency of practice and let that build over time. time. I tried headstand for almost a year and fell over every day before I could find the balance. And headstand's a pose that's a part of my daily practice. It's one of the postures that can really bring a calm and meditative mind, bringing yourself into a deep and inner focus. It's recommended to hold headstand for a minimum of 10 breaths, but a maximum, really, well, there's no maximum. You could even hold it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Some people have been known to hold headstand for an hour or longer. I don't recommend you start that in the beginning. Not everyone has an hour of their life to devote to headstand. It's hard enough just to fit in the practice. So make sure you hold headstand for at least 10 breaths, or at least the preparatory pose for 10 breaths, and you know you're pointed in the right way of the inner journey. The last 3 poses are the most important because these really seal the energy deep down into the body. We start off in lotus position. So if you can't do the lotus position, come to a comfortable cross-legged position and stay there. If you can do the lotus position, then fold your right foot up, the same place that we worked in for the half lotus position. So the shin bone and the top of the foot spiral under, then pause and check in with yourself. Make sure the right knee feels pretty good. If the right knee is not so happy, don't push it past that and maybe go back to the comfortable cross-legged position. Check in with the left knee also, make sure both are pretty happy. Then, if they are, reach around, right knee is on the ground, hold on to the left foot and pick it up. Then the shin bone and the foot, spiral it in. Now, after you spiral your knees, after you spiral your feet into the lotus position, then we have to bind the hands or move on the hands towards the feet. Now, the first thing to do is reach your left hand around in the direction of the right foot. Reach the right hand around in the direction of the left foot. And if you can't hold on to your feet, just hold your elbows. If you're working in the position of the simple cross-legged, you want to just hold on to the elbows. If you have the lotus position, reach all the way around so your left hand holds on to the top of the right foot. It's very common that this hand won't reach, so what you do is you just leave it behind, wiggling it around, and then inhale and exhale as you fold forward, your hand gets closer to your foot, okay? So as the hand gets closer to the foot, you feel yourself moving into what's called Baddha Padmasana. You bind your Padmasana. It's not recommended that you try to cross your elbows over each other. This is really enough. So you're just here binding your Padmasana. So you're from a bound Padmasana, which means in English, the bound lotus pose. So we bind the lotus pose. Then inhale, make emptiness in the pelvic bowl, and exhale, fold over your lotus, reaching your forehead or your nose or your chin towards the ground for Yoga Mudra, the sacred seal. And this is the pose that brings your mind into the inner body and works to integrate all of the lessons of the spiritual journey down into your heart. Traditionally, each of these poses is held for 10 breaths. So suck the belly in and slowly come on back up. And now, Padmasana position. When we work with Padmasana position, it's very important that we understand the hands. Padmasana position is lotus position, the full lotus, and involves what's called Yoga Mudra with the hands. So we were in Yoga Mudra, the pose, and now we'll make Yoga Mudra with the hands. So take your hands, palms up, all right? Then your first 2 fingers come together, the tip of the index finger and the tip of the thumb. Don't press too hard, just bring them in, kind of like an OK sign. Close your ring finger, the middle finger and the little finger together, and turn the palms up. Chin down, gaze at the nose tip. Yoga Mudra symbolizes the individual soul experiencing directly the divine soul, or in other words, where you focus your mind entirely on God. When this happens, the 3 gunas, or the 3 manifestations of Prakriti, the physical world around you, are fully under your control, or you're no longer bothered by them. You have a calm, equanimous mind, a peace that is imperturbable, never shaken. Draw the belly in, breathe deeply down through the spine, but sucking the belly in, gazing steady at the nose tip so that the world disappears. Feel a sense of pratyahara as the senses drop into the inner body. And after you feel a moment where the senses drop into the inner body, the mind reaches a state of concentration, perhaps a moment of meditation, perhaps a glimpse of samadhi. Draw the belly in, lift the knees, Utplutihi, sprung up position. Okay, prepare yourself, here we go. Test out your place of imperturbable peace with this immense challenge. Knees up, shoulders forward, hips back and up. Now this is what it looked like for me the first time I tried. And the result, nothing. So if that happened for you, you're in the same boat as I was. It took me 3 months to get a little up, okay? So hopefully it'll happen for you on the first try. Lift your knees, shoulders forward, hips back and up. Use your lower abs. Here we go. Inhale, keep pushing. 1, 2, you can do it, don't give up. 3, oh, if you go down, it's not over. You gotta pick it back up. 4, 5, you can do it. 6, oh, you feel you're dying. Come on, back up and take it up. 6, 7, you can do it. Steady your mind. 8, if you're burning, no problem. 9, last one, almost there. And 10. Good job. Okay, shake it out. And remember that jump back we went over from Lotus before? We're going to try that now. Hands forward, elbows into your body, all the way back. Chaturanga. You can do chaturanga on the floor. You made it through Utplutihi. That's your little cupcake. Inhale, come on all the way upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Look forward, come on all the way forward. And we're going to lie down. I'm just going to go over with you a basic way to set yourself up for a really comfortable final relaxation. Slowly rolling the spine down until the sacrum is on the ground, and then pause for a moment. Make sure the sacrum's down, and make sure the shoulder blades are under your back, and spread the arms, stretching out the legs one by one, and then scoot yourself up a little to make sure that there's no pressure on the lower back and that the sacrum's fully down. Then just give yourself a little shake. Start to shake the feet. Just shake out the body. It's a nice way to just release any tension. Tension often gets stored as a wind in the body, so just let yourself unwind for a moment. And a nice deep breath in. Let it all go. One more time. Nice deep breath in. Let it all go. One more time. Nice deep breath in. Let it all go. A moment of peace. A moment of calm. Your bones are heavy. The skin is heavy, and you rest. And then to waken yourself back up, begin to move the fingers and toes, the feet, the hands. Bend the knees, bring them back together. Bend your elbows, bring them back in. Pull the knees into your chest. Give yourself a little squeeze. Roll a little from side to side and all the way over onto your side. One of the things that happens when you roll over to the side is that we often lead with the head to come up. So you're not going to do that. You're going to lead with your body. So the body starts to lead up. The head is heavy. Roll your spine all the way up. As you move through the closing poses, these are also familiar postures that you'll find are like friends. They lead you into the journey home. It's almost like you can feel yourself turning the keys to your house after a long trip. The closing poses are an integration of the hard work that you put into the practice. So remember to take your time, breathe deeply, never rush through, never force or push yourself into any of the closing poses, but instead really just take the time to integrate them step by step, learning the lesson. What is the lesson of Sarvangasana? What is the lesson of Shirshasana, headstand? What is the lesson of the last 3 poses as you turn the mind so deeply inward? Open your mind, open your soul, open your spirit up, open your heart up to the true deep transformation of the practice. And you'll find the light shining through you in every moment, in every breath. Bring your hands together and inhale. Thank you so much for going on the full journey of the Ashtanga Yoga method. Keep the seed of inspiration, faith in yourself, courage in every moment of your life. Namaste.